right. So we are at the last portion of our sales funnel. So in Go Beyond the Lights today, we are talking about the sales funnel, and we are talking about the part that is advocacy. Leveraging the advocacy of your customers to really help move your business forward, right? So we've gone through the funnel, and we started off with brand awareness. We started off after brand awareness, moving into the interest phase. Then after the interest phase, we're looking at the decision-making phase. Then we're looking at the conversion phase of the funnel. Now we're talking about advocacy, right? So as someone is getting to know you and your brand, they get to know you. That's where brand awareness comes in. They become a little bit more interested because you've said something that piques their interest. They go in a little bit deeper, and then they're like, hey, I'm making a decision. I'm going to give you my email address. I might want a proposal from you. Really depends on what it is. And then getting to that place of, I want to buy from you, right? So those are the things in the funnel. And then after they buy from you, then they're talking about you. They're saying to their friends, hey, I really like this brand. Their friends asking on Facebook, looking for blah, blah, blah. And they're like, hey, reach out to Tamara Louis at Monovan Digital because she can do this and I had this experience. Reach out to Michelle Gordon at Lining Up Digital because I know her, I've had this experience. You know, the brand advocacy, they're talking about the things that you do, sharing what you do. So that's an important part of that sales funnel, because this is where we'll talk about it. I'm sure this is where the customer acquisition cost is the lowest, right? This is the part that we love, because we're not paying any money for this. And we've turned our customers into soldiers of our business who are out there spreading the message and bringing more business back to us. So we absolutely love this brand advocate part. And that means they're sometimes they're buying from you again, and they're also talking about you, which we want that. We want that for our business. All right. So let's jump in a little bit and talk about being a brand advocate. So when we talked about our funnel, we talked about it from a point of you as the business thinking about what is your action. Then of course we have the reaction of the customer, and then we have a KPI. So everything is really connected, right? So as you're thinking through the funnel, you want to build brand advocates. So you have to make sure that you're driving, how are you driving your customers to become advocates, right? Through that loyalty piece. Is it service to the next level? This is where your customer service piece, this is where your flow, your implementation process, this is where the operations of your business matters, right? You got to get it done right so that people can become advocates. How do they then recognize? Are you giving them, are you saying, hey, give me a review and I will also give you some more insight into what your business is doing? Not necessarily a discount, but ways for them to be connected. If they drive more people to your business, are you saying, hey, you could be an affiliate for me? What is your recognition program so that people feel inspired to go out there and talk? Some of them will do it on their own, but some of them may want to, to have an opportunity to say, yeah, I want to make a little bit of money with this, right? So think about what your approach is in that action to get to that brand advocate. So what is the customer's reaction? What are they doing? Are they out there, again, word of mouth? Are they bringing in those referrals? Or how are they pushing your message forward? And that's something that we really love here, because at Monovan, we really want people to push our messages forward. As I am out there more and more and more, I start hearing people say the things that I say when they're explaining about what we do, right? Which is something that we love, because we're like, yes, you may have said it better, actually. Tell me that again. So you want people to start delivering your message, which also means that your message has to be clear and succinct, and you have to help them. If you help them, then they'll say, this is how they helped me. So it really has to be clear and succinct. And the next thing you want to do with a brand advocate is look to understand the KPIs associated with it, right? What are they bringing to the table? What are the numbers that you're going to look at for brand advocacy? So number of affiliates, number of people that signed up, maybe it's number of completed surveys, maybe it's number of reviews, maybe it's number of sales, right? You're going to look at things that come through that pipeline of brand advocates, because you're going to track it. You're going to set it up in a way where you can absolutely track it to then say to your CFO, hey, When we have a brand advocate, we have people that are talking about our business. We see that for brand advocates, it's bringing in about 5% of our revenue. That's a number that says you should invest time in people becoming brand advocates, making it an intentional part of your business. Because again, if you do good work for them, they're going to be the ones that refer you over and over and over again. So this is a great way to really think about how you seal up and end your funnel, right? It's not just go right back around. It's turning those customers into brand advocates. So what do you guys think?
You know, I love this part of this because for me, it's called, it's a sales continuum to me. The selling never stops. And from when I view this, not from a sales seat, but from a marketing seat and from a consumer, the things that I love to see from a marketing aspect is when I'm receiving that thank you message from whomever I have patronized right away. Or when I've received that touch point that says, like I got one from Amazon that says, it is, look at where your package is. It is 6 stops away. Or I'm going to receive it from Federal Express between 5 and 8 p.m. So it's setting an expectation, letting me know and building the anticipation. Or when I see a video of somebody, I just saw one on TikTok where there was a young lady who purchased a keratin hair treatment. Here we go back to hair. And they were showing the bouncy hair and the end result of it, that showing her the pleasure, the joy in the woman's face. And I thought that was a really smart thing for that hairstylist to do because it was showing action, a pleased client, marketing in motion. As Tara and Michael always says, that's really key and does help for the resale, as well as moving forward and gaining new clients, social proofing from people that you don't even know. So I think it's dead on, and the call and response that you showed was really important from a marketing perspective.
It's absolutely important that you're doing that client success capture along the way, right? So part of that brand advocacy, Tamara said it, are you seeing the things that you want them to see? Are you giving them the content that they can share, share this with, and telling them, who they can share this with that's in their world? Are you becoming more and more knowledgeable about the spaces that they reside in and really enabling them to go forward and be that advocate for your brand in other spaces, right? But you want to make sure that in that flow, of course, that you've gotten this client, whether it's B2B, B2C, there's a certain flow that happens. You want to make sure that during that flow, especially in that B2B space, that you are doing those checkpoints, right? You don't need to wait till the end of your project to say, hey, did we do well? You should be checking because that helps maintain the client health. And as well, you're going to uncover opportunities for those cross-sells and those upsells as well. That's part of developing that brand advocate, is that, they want everything from you, right? You are the one-stop shop. So great place to be. So you want to make sure you're nurturing it well.
It's all about the nurturing at this point. It's all about how do you make them feel comfortable, at least in my eyes. How do you make them feel comfortable enough that, they're coming to you, as Michael said, they're coming to you for everything, but they're also willing to recommend you for things. And it's so funny when you're in this phase, when you get to that phase, you find that they may actually recommend you for things that you don't even offer because they so value you as a brand. They think, oh, I think this person can do that, but the person comes, you realize, oh, I actually don't offer that, or I don't have that, but let me point you in the right direction. So it's quite interesting, this brand advocacy part of the funnel, because this is where it's I think it's a very intimate part of the funnel. It's where you get closer and closer to your customer. You're building this relationship because, of course, they're going to come back, they're going to continue to buy, you're going to keep learning their habits. So as Michael said, that opportunity for the cross sale is there. So that's the opportunity for more revenue. So yeah, it's a very, I like this part of the funnel because this is really where you're getting to the heart of the relationship that you eventually have with your customer.
All right, moving on. We're going to move on to the sales portion of this brand advocate.
All right. This is actually a part of the conversation that I have with my clients as we're speaking about the acquisition from the very beginning, what that sales journey is, and we're outlining it. As I mentioned before, I call it the sales continuum, because the sale doesn't end when they purchase. It just begins and starts in a different way, and the reflection of your relationship with that client. Once they say yes and you've purchased and you've moved to the action component of this, just shifts a little bit, and it becomes really important to you and your business in a multitude of ways. Part of it I mentioned initially in speaking about the marketing piece, where it's post-sale support, what that thank you is to the customer, asking for that feedback and review and referral. But it's important in how you do it. One of the things that I provide with my clients is a literal template. And we talk through, well, what are you seeking from your clients once they say yes to us? Let me help you be comfortable in asking them to do something quickly by providing a template of what that action is. So if you're looking for them to show the top in a specific way, if they purchase a top from you, or if it was a facial service, their glowing skin, or if it was specific words that you're seeking, be smart enough to ask for that gift that you're looking for and pull it out of that client, reverting back to the words that they used on things that was important to them and why they chose to work with your business. It's really easy to provide that information, but it takes thought. The intention pre-sale is really important. It's your opportunity to upsell and cross-sell. So as you're planting the seeds and educating whoever it is that's enacting that's on your team, that now takes it to implementation and post-sale support. May it be the everyday maintenance person, that's the client support person, the manager at that point. You're giving them the information that says, yes, they were looking for remarketing eventually, or they needed photos that is now going to turn into a video. You need to begin planting that seed along the way, so that when you get to the point of almost expiration, or it's time for them to renew, it's not a new thought. They're already with you. Whomever's on your team is planting that seed and providing that information to pull that information from them, so that at least what we call the acquisition cost, as Tamara said, is much lower, because they're so far down in the sales funnel. So it's important for you to be intentional, say that what you need, and to provide your team with the tools that they are equipped with in order to get to that next stage in the sales cycle. Because in many instances, you don't want them to have that one sale and go away. You want them to repurchase from you, or purchase something different, or add on to the sale, so that it's a longer contract for a greater value, and to tell a friend, because that word of mouth is so very important to you. Now, what does that mean from the response part? You've given the call. What's the response that you're seeking from the client, that reaction? That brand advocate piece that we spoke about is really important. That visual, that I don't want to say it's anonymous, because it's not anonymous. They're just strangers to the buying community that you're trying to receive. You want them to leave that positive remark. You want them to share their experience. You want them to refer somebody to you. I literally just had a conversation with one of my clients yesterday about this, and should they make changes. Hello, Canopy Law, Katina, about what she should do as a change to her website. A lot of the business that she has coming to her are referrals to her business from recent clients that she has, or connections within her greater network that are referring business to her. And most of these people are people she does not know, but someone that she knew referred someone to her. So that response that she received by getting referrals to her business, that's really important. So you want that response to be a referral. You want someone to mention your business. When you are not in the room, when you are not in the journey, someone is talking about your business and referring someone to your company to make a purchase. Now, what does that mean? Because it all reverts back to the numbers, and the KPIs are what's really important for us to look at. The metrics that you're looking as an indication that you're on the right track mirror some things that you saw in Tamara's. The number of reviews that you're getting. Are you getting an uptick in referrals? Are people buying more? Are they re-upping their commitment to you? Are you having a greater increases in tags, mentions, and shares, or has that flattened out? Those are going to be indications if you're moving on the right place, if the responses are exactly what you were seeking, or if you need to look at the numbers and modify what you're doing so that you can get an uptick in all of these different KPIs.
Listen, I gotta jump in right here. So this is where you sometimes have a disconnect between sales and support. So there's this next, place that is support and post customer support. And let me describe a scenario. You've gone through a sale process. They've been absolutely attentive. They've answered all your questions. You've had follow-up questions, and you thought, hey, listen, this was a really good feel, and you bought. And then right after the sale, you had one question on the product or the item that you got, and suddenly you can't find anybody. That's a really bad feeling, right? I think we all agree. That's like, well, what happened? They were so, focused on the sale, just on that conversion, that they didn't go into that brand advocacy. So it's important to define who's really responsible for that. Is it, as Michelle said, the continuum of sales, or is it some other, are you now creating another function, but absolutely essential that you're doing those touch points post sale? And this is where some of those automated workflows can come in to lend a hand to make sure that you're, as I said, touching base at certain points to make sure that the customer has bought, but is now all right now that they have converted and bought what you're selling.
Michael, I think what you said is so key, especially for small businesses where there are very few people in the business often. So that automated process becomes a relevant second person or a team member for you, because it's taking care of those things. They're triggers that will automatically happen based upon actions within your system. And that really does make a difference. Like I said earlier, I look for, did Federal Express send me that text message saying that my delivery, I know it's supposed to be here in 2 days. Is it on track? That Amazon message that said, you want to see that notification that I asked for, it's 5 stops away. I'm looking for it. And that's really important. I thought was really key in the service aspect, in a nonverbal kind of way that you're saying, I'm true to what I said. My commitment to you is strong. And that makes me want to still re-engage, because I can trust you and what you're about after I've given you my money, after I've committed to you. I'm married to you now. Show me what you got.
I love that, Michelle. I'm married to you now, so better live up to my expectations. But I think this brand advocacy part of the funnel is actually a part of the funnel that I think small business owners can do really well over their larger counterparts, because it is actually, if you think about it, it's actually more organic and more in line with how a small business grows than with a corporate, a bigger entity, right? We grow on referrals. And we grow. That's when we first start to do our product or service, and that person tells another person. That's the traditional way of growing. So the advocacy way is actually something that we already very familiar with, and we already very much understand how it works. We're just adding some terms and some KPIs to it. But I think small business owners need to remember this is the core of how you grow. So it is something that you should be paying attention to. I've interacted with small businesses that have told me they, in fact, want the guy that comes to my home to deal with certain appliances in terms of fixing and stuff. He doesn't have a social media page, and he's been in business for years, and he says he's only grown by referrals. And I got him through a referral. I got his number from a family member, and then I passed it on to my friend, and then she passed it on. So now he actually services all our homes, my home, my in-laws, my parents. I just passed him around, and he said that's how his business grows over the years, to the point where he's fully satisfied. So I want business owners to remember this is the core of how you grow. So this brand advocacy part, don't let the KPIs and the metrics confuse you. This is the core of how you grow anyway. So we're just trying to put some structure around it and say that this is how you can do it. But just remember, it's very important part of just closing that gap once again to your customer. Good morning, Deborah. Deborah is saying brand support cultivates loyal customers. We all want to feel like we're number one. Yes. Yeah, customers all want to feel like, they feel connected to you. That's why when they refer you, they're referring you, and and especially if you're a small business and you have a phone number that's connected to you, they refer that number because they want to know that when they refer you, that people can get you.
You know what's so odd about all this is that when I'm speaking with my clients about this, they're so shy about asking people for a referral. And I often say to them, you don't. There are instances where yes, you have to step forward to ask. But if you're weaving experiences that you've had with clients and things that they said in your story when you're out networking, as you're talking to people, those things will resonate, and they will, as Tamara said, will repeat it using your words because you fine-tuned the way that you're speaking about your business and the experience that you're having with your clients at the same time. That authenticity really resonates. The transparency of the emotion that you're showing comes across to your existing community and your prospective community. So utilize that piece. Again, as I was speaking with Katina with Canopy Law, one of my clients, and we were speaking about her being out peopling, and the results of her referrals are from those peopling. Those stories that she told are being repeated to other people on her credentials, the successes that she's had, but also just being visible in the spaces, and the advocates, the evangelists are coming to the table and referring people out there. So don't be shy about it. There's ways to put that selling component in the post-sale component of what you're doing in a comfortable way that's sustainable, that's repeatable in an easy way.
So this brings us to finance, right? So at this point, we get it straight into measuring, obviously. And my concern as the finance person would be, well, okay, show me the money, show me the repeat sales. How much are we getting from this customer on an ongoing basis, right? Are we seeing repeat sales in the first place? That should be your first part to determine if you are even in an advocacy, if this person is even in an advocacy stage, right? If you had a referral program, if you had that we mentioned before, is that, and you're tracking, you would want to be able to see how much that person has been referring or how much that affiliate is bringing in. You want to understand what that metric is. You also want to understand the lifetime sales value of a customer. So customers, they have a life cycle. We went through the entire cycle. We're now at brand advocacy. How long do they stay in this stage? Do they stay using your product forever? Is it something that they can use forever? Or is it something that just takes them through a specific stage in their business? So you need to understand where your product fits in that. So for example, if you're a small business owner and you're now starting out, if I use my services as an example, you may need bookkeeping services, right? But you may not need it forever, because once you get yourself up and going, you may be able to get it in-house. You may be able to bring that talent in. So it's important that you understand what that lifetime sales value for a customer in your audience looks like, right? If you're selling health products and you're selling something to fix a problem, once the problem is fixed, the person may buy less or they may not buy again. But going back to the first point, they may be the referrer that refers to someone else. And hey, I had this problem. We spoke about hair today. Suppose your product fixes hair loss. Once the hair has grown back, they may not need it anymore, but they may continue to refer the people. And then you also want to look at market share. So how much of the market do you generally have in this space? You want to understand what is the size of the potential market, and do you have 25, 30, 40, what is that percentage? It's usually a number that sometimes it might be difficult to calculate, because if you don't have the information to start with in terms of the value of the market, it might be difficult. But you need to have some sort of attempt to say, well, okay, I estimate that I think, out of everybody in my space, I think, it's worth X, and I probably have about 25% of that. Obviously, the more niche the market is, the smaller the market might be overall. But you want to understand what is that market share, because the market share comes from the brand advocates, the constant repeat buyers that are coming, right? When you were growing, you were bringing more people, you were bringing numerous people in, new, all the time. So that number you would have started off at 0, and you go to 5, 10, 15, and you're going up. But then somewhere around the mature stage, you reach about 25%, and you probably level off, because now everybody who continuing to buy the product, that's where you're getting back the consistency. So you want to have that understanding. And of course, it's not on the slide, but we mentioned customer acquisition costs. So while all this is happening and we're focusing on the revenue and we're focusing on making sure that money is continuously coming in, you want to also make sure that the cost of that person coming in is now as lowest as it could possibly be. Brand advocates are people that have been in your space. They've come through the entire funnel. So they should take less effort to convert. So by that token, if you're offering things like an affiliate program or a referral program, you want to make sure that the cost of those programs don't exceed the cost of the value of what you're getting in terms of sale, or you want to make sure that the cost to offer those programs don't exceed the cost that it would have taken to acquire them in the first place, because then the program may not make sense, right? The program has to make sense in terms of it must be saving you money somewhere. It must be saving an effort, right? So you could break it down to a logical thing. You could say, well, before I used to post 10 times a week because I had to keep constantly putting things out there to get the awareness and whatnot. But now that the majority, like as you grow and the majority of your business is in the advocacy stage, you find that it's less outbound and more inbound. You don't have to do that amount of marketing effort anymore, because now you have this community that you've built, and it should take less effort to speak to them, because by now you've developed the relationship with them. So you want to be able to make sure that those costs are netting each other off and not exceeding the value of what you were getting from your customer in the first place, because then that would not make sense. So when we get to this stage in the funnel and we're looking at finance, we're looking at how much sales we're getting, first of all, and basically the cost to get the sale should be the lowest at this point, and it shouldn't take as much effort.
All right, I'm going to pass it around the room for everyone to add to this and give their final thoughts.
So it's really important, operationally, how are you collecting or capturing, housing all of those contacts that were conversions, right? So you've got to deal with them as a segment. We've talked about segmentation in terms of all the stages of the funnel, but here's where you have a segment of customers. And you want to know, some platforms would give you certain, as Andrea's leading into things like repeat customers, especially in B2B space. You get platforms which can tell you, listen, we can segment it this way immediately. We can tell you this customer has bought once, twice, 3 times, right? But that's where you really want to make sure that you're tracking. That's where CRM really comes in handy, to make sure you're tracking what are the activities that a customer has taken, post-sale support, etc. As Andrea said, rightfully, that customer may buy something that they need now, but they may not need it again for another 6 months. How is that triggered in your system to say, this is the time to send back out something to that customer? Because, like servicing your car, let's say, it's only periodically. So you want to make sure that you segment, and that allows you to talk to them in a way that realizes Andrea's goals of repeats, of upsells, and advocacy.
Great segment. And I love that when we are recapping this at the end, we're ending with the finance part, because it also then lends into the next part of the sales cycle and where we're going with this. As I've said with many of my clients, and shout out again to Florida Confections and Morgan's Mixers, because this part that Andrew is speaking of, you do really well in that you're showing not just your rebuys, but the advocacy component, because you're literally speaking to another satisfied customer. Again, thank you for your business. Again, those key terms that help people to know, like, and trust you, and to visually show what you have going on. The intention here in every component of the sales cycle, this journey for your clients, is something that we have been speaking of consistently. And here in the post-sale component is a fine example of how important it is for you to keep this at the forefront of your mind always. You're always selling. Every one of your team members has a component and a key piece in the sales cycle. And the post-advocacy brain component of this is an important part that shows not only how important it is, but it helps to bring more of your revenue to the bottom line in a faster fashion, if you're paying attention to it and bringing those people to the table and educating them from the very first stage of the sales cycle. So keep that in mind. have the intention, bring your entire team to the table, including all of the people here on the screen and those that are sitting behind the scenes that are really making your business run and run really well. So that's it from a sales perspective.
So I echo what I said before. To the small business owner, this is the stage that I think small businesses should shine, because this is the stage that I think was made for them. That the corporate space cannot do this as well as a small business can. That connectivity, that making that relationship with your audience. So this is where we should be doing the things that are necessary to maximize the potential here. You know, all the work that is done before, you're competing with everybody up to that point, right? You're doing the marketing, you're doing all the other stages of the funnel. But when you get to this stage, I think this is a space that small business owners are really supposed to be maxing out. Do the necessary work to connect with people. But of course, measure it against what you're getting. So it's all well and good to say, yes, I have these amounts of repeat customers or brand advocates. But as Michael is saying, make sure you have the operational things behind it so that you can really shine. But don't be afraid of this stage, I think, is the message I would say. This is the stage that I think small business owners were born for. And I think it's a space that they could be really competitive at when compared to larger organizations.
I love that, guys. This has been an interesting 5 weeks, right? So 5 weeks or 6 weeks, we've been talking through the sales funnel. So go back, check out the playlist. It walks you through all portions of the sales funnel. And we kind of ended today with brand advocacy. Where you want people to be after you've sold for them is talking about your brand. You want to be able to measure it effectively. And I really love to echo what Andrea said. This is where we're really good as small businesses because we're nimble, right? We can adjust, we can be flexible. This is where we're really, really good. So this has been an awesome, awesome series. You guys have brought a wealth of information to the conversation. And as the sales funnel has always been this elusive thing that we talk about, we're like, your sales funnel. But I think what we've done here in the last few weeks is given people the action items, what they should be thinking, what they should be thinking the customer is thinking, and then the measurement to connect the dots in that sales funnel. So definitely go back. If you have not seen the first episode of this series, go back and check it out. And just watch them all, add comments, let us know what you're thinking. We are always excited to be here to break down these strategies and to break down these silos. That's why it's so important that we have the key players in the building. We have finance in the building with Andrea, who always keeping us on our P's and Q's, customer acquisition costs, rebuys. What are we getting from this money that we're putting out? She's like, I want the ROI, right? What is that? 3 to 1, 4 to 1? What does that look like? Michelle, who's always pushing us to the envelope of pricing and sales. And how is this happening in the digital space, right? Understanding the sales funnel, right? Like that's like 90% of what Michelle does at Lanyap Digital, and helping with pricing as well too, right? Because as the business, we need to understand what our pricing is going to be so that we can be effective in the sales. And then how is marketing helping to drive those qualified leads so that sales can maybe take them over the edge? What are you giving to sales? Operations is here to help us streamline things, to help us figure out what do we need to implement. So many businesses have the plan, but they don't implement, right? They're always stuck with like, hey, we didn't get this done, we didn't get this done. It's key for operations to do that. So that's why Michael is here to have these conversations. And I'm here talking about digital marketing strategies. And we're breaking down the silos for a small business and connecting all the dots.